Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Tanisha Denny will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you for tuning in to Heart of Greenville, where we get to hear the stories behind the wonderfully great people of our community. I asked Katy Ridge to come on the show because she gives 110% of herself in everything she does, including giving back to our community. Here's my conversation with Katy Ridge. Hey y'all, I'm Tanisha Denny, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we are sitting in 2400 Kent Circle, currently listed by Katy Holloway with REMAX 3D Real Estate. And our guest today is Miss Katy Ridge. How are you, Katy?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Now tell us the name of your business.
Cornerstone Insurance.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I got it exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But right now, I want to talk about your story. People know you for your insurance business and for your community service and all of your involvement. But we don't know Katy Ridge, like as the person. Like, where did you grow up? How did you get here? So share that story with us today.
Okay, so I grew up in Richardson, Texas. That's where I'm actually a fourth generation Texan. So my great grandfather was born in Lancaster, my grandfather was born in Aledo, and my dad was born in Dallas. So I'm very proud of my Texas heritage.
As you should be.
Very much. I graduated from J.J. Pierce High School in Richardson in 1990, and I came out here to go to school at East Texas State University. I was actually the last graduating class of ETSU, so that was really awesome. Yeah. I got my degree in education. I taught English and special ed for about a year before I said, nope, not for me. This is not where I want to go.
What inspired you to want to be a teacher?
Honestly, a lot of my friends were doing that, and I thought it sounded like something that was really appealing to me. I love kids. I love being able to pass on knowledge and experience, and I loved the English side of it. I also loved the special ed side. There was just other parts of it that I wasn't too fond of, so I immediately went back and got my degree in my master's degree in counseling. And I started working at the mental health center here in Greenville, and I loved that. Loved it.
What did you do in that capacity?
Well, the first 7 or 8 years I worked with kids. So we would go into each of the schools in Hunt County and do counseling. So it was an outside resource coming in to assist with counseling the children. And it was really cool because even in the summers and the breaks, we would still get to see the kids and go to their homes, and we would take them to go and do fun stuff. And all of the different venues like the Dallas Cowboys and the Stars and the Mavericks would give us free tickets to take the kids to go and do stuff, and it was really awesome.
That had to make their day. To just say they went to a Cowboys game or the Mavericks or something like that.
Oh yeah, man, it was fun.
What was your favorite part in that role?
I think that it was just being able to help the kids to go from a space of not understanding what was going on in their world and maybe not relating very well to other kids or to their family members, and being able to help them progress into something that was a much healthier version of themselves, and helping that family unit be able to become more healthy, and to see that progression over time, because I spent so many years with those kids, and sometimes just to be the only voice of reason for them was really awesome.
That is really cool. And how many years did you get to do that?
7 or 8 with the kids. And then the state of Texas developed this new system for help. They called it a package. So it was a level of service for adults, but it was mainly in the clinic. It was mainly for them to come in and see the psychiatrist and get a little bit of counseling, make sure that all the paperwork was completed the way it was supposed to be for the state of Texas. And they knew that when this new package was assembled, it was going to be a very large group of people. And so our administrators realized, okay, Katy is a little OCD and a little, detail oriented, and I think she's going to be really good. She would be the right person to be able to take this massive unknown system and make it make sense. So they asked me to take over as essentially the case manager for the clinic. And that was really cool because now I'm working with all the psychiatrists and nurse practitioners, the drug reps, and all of these people, and just filtering a lot of individuals through that level of that system. And I learned so much about medications. I learned so much about just medical diagnoses at that, and how to help people globally and not just focusing on one aspect of their situation.
Right. So you got to see the whole picture.
Exactly.
And that probably helped you make better decisions for your organization.
It did. Absolutely.
Did you miss working with the kids, though, one-on-one when you moved into that role?
Yeah, I cried actually when I had to leave the kiddos, but I knew that this was a great opportunity for me, and I knew that it was going to help me grow professionally, personally, and actually, God knows everything, and He knows where He's taken us, even though we might not know at that time. And so, as it turns out, my current career is because of that move.
Oh.
So let me tell you how that happened. So it was about 2004, I believe, that I took over that position in the clinic and started working with all of these clients coming through that had Medicare. Some of them had Medicaid. And all of a sudden in 2006, Medicare comes out with these silly little things called drug plans. And here I am, fairly educated, considered myself a okay, smart person, and I could not figure these stinking things out. I was like, how am I supposed to help these people? I would go to the Social Security office with them. They couldn't really help us. I was looking for other resources in town and found out there were no resources here in Hunt County to help with these particular products in the Medicare world. It took me a few years to realize, you know what? This is a niche that needs to be filled for this community. So I quit my salary job, went to go and take an insurance exam, and 2 days later, I was a licensed insurance agent, not having a clue what I was doing, but I just figured it out.
That is so cool that you did that. I mean, what a huge decision to make, to give up your financial security to go and open your own business. And did you feel completely led to do that? How did you know that was what you needed to do? Like, what said, Katy, take this leap of faith and go open your own business to help this group of people that have a need?
Prayer, and asking for some kind of sign that I was going down the right path, and I got lots and lots of information that this is what you need to be doing. There were some stumbling blocks along the way. It wasn't a perfect transition or anything, but once I found Cornerstone is an agency. I essentially own my branch for here in Texas. I'm what's called a managing director of the Texas team. And so that just means that I pay for everything, is what it means. But Cornerstone is an agency. We have a national footprint. And the reason that you want to contract through an agency for all the insurance companies is it gives you a lot of protection in this big bad world of insurance, which can be very devastating if you try to go alone and contract with them. So I was searching for a good company, and when I found Cornerstone, their number one value was integrity. They didn't have quotas. There wasn't anything, they weren't pushing anybody to sell, and I refused to do that. I'm not just a sales agent. In fact, that's a dirty word to me. Sales agent is a dirty word in my industry. So I refuse to be that kind of person.
I've never thought of you that way. You've never been pushy. In fact, when you say insurance, I don't connect you with that stereotypical.
I know.
So you've done a great job with that, Katy.
I know. In fact, I tell my clients all the time, look, we all know that, there's 3 different types of businesses. You've got attorneys and used car salesmen, and then insurance agents that are, have a negative connotation. But I want to make sure that at least in this area and all of the areas where my agents are, that we never, ever represent, or misrepresent that profession and our profession in that way. And I want to make sure that we are putting the positive spin on it and always doing what's right for people. So that's how I ended up with Cornerstone, and that's how I ended up in the insurance industry.
So who is your clientele today? Who are the people who come to your office and need your services?
It's mainly people that are turning 65 or they're already on Medicare. So right now is Medicare open enrollment season. So since October 15th, we've been in the open enrollment for Medicare. And so anybody who is already on Medicare is who I want to come and see me. Because during this time, this is the only time of year that you get to make any changes that you might need. The biggest problem that most Medicare beneficiaries don't realize is the mistake that is made is they choose something maybe several years ago and they just keep it and keep rolling it over, and they don't realize that there are new drug plans that come out every year, and one of those could be much more affordable, could cover their medications for much less out-of-pocket expense. They just don't realize, and it's too difficult. It's difficult even when I'm training new agents. It's almost impossible for them to understand. There's no way that a layperson could understand the breadth of this. In 2020, we have 30 drug plans available in the state of Texas. For 2021, we have 35. Can you imagine having to figure out all of the information for all of that? Then you start throwing in Medicare supplements, you throw in Medicare Advantage plans, and the commercials that are on television right now are trying to tell you how great all of these things are, and they're not telling you the downsides to it. And that's one of the things that I pride myself and my team on, is we're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and let you make the decision, which is totally different than a sales agent would do.
Right.
So,
man, I'm going to need you to be here when I get to this point.
I ain't going nowhere. Okay, I plan on doing this forever. It's a passion for me. It's not even really a career anymore. I mean, yes, it's my career, but this is such a passion because, in fact, I have these little bags that I'm handing out this year. They have a mask in it, little disposable mask. They have a hand sanitizer. Everybody gets their own Cornerstone pen so they can sign, applications. And I put 3 cards in there of my business cards, and I tell all of my clients, pass those out to 3 new people, that you haven't ever told about me before. Because one of the things that really, really upsets me about the Medicare industry is you can make so many mistakes and not even realize you've made it. I had a very good friend of mine come up to me yesterday and tell me that his wife did not turn on her Medicare in an appropriate amount of time when she turned 65. So they delayed her Medicare start for that. Then she didn't take a drug plan when they did turn it on, and now she is going to have a penalty every month for the rest of her life.
The rest of her life?
The rest of her life.
What does a penalty look like?
It changes a little bit every year, and it's not that much money each month, but those months add up. And so basically the way it works is there's actually 2 penalties. There's a penalty if you don't turn on Part B in the right amount of time. That's 10% of the cost of whatever Part B is for that year. Well, this year, Part B is $144.60. They're going to add 10% to that for every year you went without Part B. I had a gentleman the other day who has a 100% penalty. Every month he has to pay 100% extra. Part D, the drug plans, also have a penalty. And right now that's around 32 cents per month that you went without a drug plan. Okay, well, that adds up. If you go a year without a drug plan, do you really want to give $3 or $4 to free money to the federal government every month for the rest of your life?
No. So when are you supposed to do this so that that doesn't apply to you? How do you protect yourself from that?
Most people, it's when they're turning 65. The one exception to that is if you have creditable coverage, as in through an employer. So if somebody's working and they're turning 65 and they have insurance through their employer, then they can continue to keep that insurance and not necessarily go into the Medicare world. In fact, that's another mistake people make, is by turning on Part B too early when they're still working. So see, there's positives and negatives either direction you go. And so it's free to come and talk to me and for me to say, okay, here's your situation. This is what you should do. stay working, keep your insurance through your company, and then come back when you decide to retire. Or it may very well be, oh, now you're paying $500 a month for your insurance through your employer. Well, let me show you what it would be in Medicare, and let them make the choice. So one of my taglines I tell everybody is, it's free to come and talk to me. It could cost you if you don't.
That's a great tagline. So, I feel like I need a stack of your cards now. And when I meet anyone that's close to that 65 number, they need to come see you. And I didn't realize we don't have resources for that. So thank you for bringing that to us.
We have a lot of agents here in town that do certain aspects of Medicare, but they don't necessarily do all of it. And there's actually 3 different components to Medicare. There's supplements, Advantage plans, and prescription drug plans. And I do all 3. So I'm not saying there's nobody that does insurance in Greenville or in Hunt County, but my team does all 3 aspects.
That's great. So you truly are the expert when it comes to this.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like I learned more about it than what I knew. So now I know to pay attention when I get 65. There's some things I need to check into.
And your neighbors and your friends.
Exactly. And I need to start telling everyone now. Well, let's transition a little bit. And you are so involved in the community.
Yes.
So share some of the things. What are some of the community activities you're involved in? What are some of your favorites? Maybe some of your favorite stories. Share with us about that.
Well, I knew that when my business started prospering, I was able to, basically for the first few years, I just kept my head down and worked. And once I realized, what a blessing this was, I knew I needed to give back and really become entrenched in my community. And so the first thing I did is I joined the Chamber of Commerce. And I made it a mission to go to every single event that I could. And I went up to at least 3 people and introduced myself at every event so I could really, really get to know the community. And I asked, what can I do to volunteer? And that led me to getting to know several of our folks here in Greenville and Hunt County. Then I was invited to join Rotary. There's a funny story about Rotary. I actually, when I very first started this business, my mom had just been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And I was up at Staples, and this lady came up to the counter, and she had this cute little frame that had a pink ribbon on it. And I said, oh, where did you get that? Where was it in the store? I'm going to get one. And so she and I just started talking, and she said, you should come to have lunch with me. And she was telling me about Rotary, and I didn't know what it was and how it worked and everything. But I did go. I did go to Rotary with her that day. And I said, well, this is really cool, and I hope one day I can join. And so cut to several years later when Karen Thomason at Hancock Whitney said, come to Rotary with me. I was like, you know what? It's time. I have been blessed. My business is doing really well. And so I signed on the dotted line that day and joined Rotary. And of course, I don't do anything halfway. You probably know that about me by now.
Yes.
Anything that I am going to do, I do 110%. And so I jumped right in.
Yes, you did.
I did.
And we were so blessed to have you.
I jumped right in. I joined the haunted house the first year, which of course is my huge passion. And more on that in a minute. But I decided to also that first year go on the international service that we do.
Yes. And
I had no more gotten home, stepped foot off of the cruise ship from that when I got a phone call from the current president to say, we've had a situation occur and we've lost our president-elect. Would you be willing to take that position? I said, I've been in Rotary 5 months. I don't even know anything. But I said yes, and so ultimately became the president of Rotary just a couple of years later. So
well-deserved, though. You jumped all in, like you do everything. 110%. Katy was on board. She's like, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to do it. And you served with your whole heart.
I did. I was also asked, right before I started my presidency, I was asked if I would be willing to be a member of the Fish Ministries Board of Directors. And I said, you know what? As soon as I'm finished with my presidency for Rotary, I will definitely do that. Rotary presidency goes from July 1 to June 30th. And so July 1 this year, the end of my presidency, I was handed the application for the Fish Board of Directors. So I'm now a member of the Fish Board as well. And I love that. love that. I mean, that's one of my areas of passion as well. You know, they do so much to help our community members, and those community members that they're helping are the same people that I was helping at the mental health center. So it's just a transition into a different area for me to be able to provide a service that I was already passionate about.
Yes. It just keeps coming back full circle.
Yes.
And just your heart to serve. You truly are service above self, our motto in Rotary. And so I'm sure when you found Rotary, you're like, I'm home. This is it. These are my people.
Exactly.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that so much. Okay, Katy, let's talk about what you love about Greenville. I know we've talked about how much you serve and you have such a service heart, but let's talk specifically. You know, our show is called Heart of Greenville, and so let's talk about what do you love about Greenville?
Oh my goodness. There's just so much. And honestly, when I came out here in 1992, I was actually in Commerce for a little while and then moved to Greenville the next year. You know, this was a tiny little town, and there were like 2 restaurants here. In fact, I put myself through college working at one of them at Two Senoritas.
Oh, I love Two Senoritas.
I know.
So much.
And this is even before Applebee's was here, and Walmart was still over where the mall is. And I mean, there was just not very much here. And I mean, I'm from Dallas. I'm from Richardson, a big city. And, you know, I'm going to go back to the Metroplex one day. And, you know, I never did. And I'm so thankful I never went back. And I mean, I just couldn't believe, I can't believe, I'm just so thankful that I'm still here. But to me, Greenville is such a tight-knit community. We're still small town enough. We're not the Metroplex. We're not Dallas. We can still go anywhere in this town and I'll see somebody I know. We are still such a close community that we help each other out. I mean, there are so many people in this town and in this county, not just this town, that I could call on for anything at the drop of a hat. And you can't necessarily get that in a big city. You know, I mean, I know that there's networking and stuff, but these folks here, they're not just my colleagues or someone I happen to know, an acquaintance. These are friends. Some of them are family to me, and they'll always be there. You're just not going to get that in another town. This town shows up, and it anything that needs to be done, we do it tenfold in Greenville. So I just appreciate the volunteerism. I appreciate the passion and the drive that this community has to make us great and keep us great.
I love that. And you are blazing that trail, Katy.
I'm trying.
Well, I have one final question for you. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and how have you applied it?
So I actually had this question not that long ago for another interview for the Strong Women 100-year vote. And I'm going to give you the same answer that I gave to that person. The best advice I actually took was actually the antithesis of advice. So I was always told, because I've always had such a big personality, that I needed to rein it in. I needed to put it in a box, and I needed to stay within my lane. And when I finally got to the point that I wasn't working for somebody else, I was working for myself, I was making up the rules for myself, and because one of the things that I was always told when I worked for somebody else is, you don't need to tell everybody the truth. You don't need to tell everybody everything about what's going on or how that works, because sometimes they just don't need to know. And I don't believe that at all, especially in the world I live in with Medicare. You need to know the truth. You need to know the full truth behind things so you can make an educated decision. So in reality, what I did is the opposite, and I refuse to be put in a box. I refuse to stay in my own lane. I'm going to run all over the place. I'm going to make sure that everybody has a resource to come to that's going to tell you the truth. And so the best advice that I could give is, don't let failure be an option. Don't take no for an answer. And definitely don't let somebody put you in a box and tell you what you can and can't do, because the sky is the limit if you allow it to be.
Absolutely. Man, that's spot on.
Yeah.
I know I asked you the final question, and this is normally where I wrap up, but there is one thing that I know is very near and dear to your heart, and I just want to touch on it for a few minutes. And I want to congratulate you for your brawbie, for your bra and the Bras for the Cause, for the tribute to your mother who you did lose this year. And so I just want to tell you congratulations on that.
You.
And I'm sure there was therapy that went through that in creating that bra.
Yeah, because she fought for 7.5 years. So she was stage 4 when she was diagnosed on August 21st of 2012. So fighting 7.5 years with stage 4 breast cancer, that's a pretty big deal.
That's a fighter.
That's a fighter.
I know where you get it from.
Yeah, I might be a little bit like her. We lost her, sadly, on April 30th this year, right in the middle of COVID. And, of course, 25% capacity at the funeral. So that was really hard. They did try to force me to wear a mask, and I told them no. But that's just me.
How have you handled that now? I know that was so hard for you, knowing that only a small number of people could actually be there. And now that you've come past that a little bit, how do you feel about that now?
The good thing is she had several different areas of her life. The career that she had for 35 years. She was a Girl Scout for like 50 years. And she still volunteered up until the last 4 or 5 months. She couldn't really do anything, but she still volunteered. There were a lot of different areas that she was passionate about, and it was very sad to me, and it was really, really hard on me that even if I was allowed to have multiple guests come to the funeral, those individuals would not have been able to come anyway because of their age and didn't want to, and potential health risks, and they just didn't want to run the risk. But they've all reached out to me, and they've all kept in contact with me. And so for me, that was more meaningful than one day at a funeral.
True.
The relationship is more meaningful than one moment in time. So, and it was very cathartic to me to be able to do the brawbie, or my bra, the tribute to her, and it was especially rewarding. And that particular brawbie is always going to hold a special place in our office. To win the brawbie it was actually the judge's choice, which is even more meaningful to me. Judge's choice for the tribute category of Bras for the Cause this year.
That's fantastic. And your little brawbie has a little mask.
And it does. I'm so excited about that. Perfect.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Katy, for being on the show. Yes. I appreciate you sharing your heart. I learned so much about your business, and I know that will help other people, but I also learned about your heart. I knew you had a service heart. I did not know where it originated, and so I'm proud to serve in Rotary with you and in this community with you. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.